Slow motion.
KP's Video News, y'all. KP's Video News.
They don't want you to tell the truth.
KP's Video News, y'all. KP's Video News.
That's right.
What? KP's Video News, y'all. KP's Video News, y'all.
Yep, they don't want you to tell the truth. Can't be telling the kids a whole bunch of lies, man. Yep, that's all they've been doing for the last 50 years. Telling folks a whole bunch of lies. Yep, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Yes, indeed. So, how's everybody doing? First of all, I need you to go ahead on and hit that bell up in the corner so you get their notifications. Go on and go right down here and subscribe. Hit the subscribe button so you can get subscribed to KP's Video News, y'all. You know, trying to get you plugged in here, trying to get you plugged in. And if you get a chance to, you know, share with your family and friends, enemies and frenemies, you know, all of that. Yep. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. How y'all doing today? How's everybody doing today? It's KP's Video News. I haven't done a show in a minute. And, you know, hey, I just have to space it out, do it the way I feel like doing it. And, you know, hey, I'm doing a show today. And because of a couple of stories that caught my eye, and this one particular story starting overseas in Tel Aviv, Israel. Listen closely. The Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said Sunday he wants the Eritrean migrants involved in a violent clash in Tel Aviv to be deported immediately, and has ordered a plan to remove all the country's African migrants. Say that again. Netanyahu, man, is going crazy on the black folks from Africa. And he said he wanted anybody that was involved in a violent clash in Tel Aviv to be deported immediately, and has ordered a plan to remove all of the country's African migrants. All. So the remarks came a day after protests by rival groups in South Tel Aviv left dozens of people injured. Eritreans, supporters and opponents of Eritrean's government faced off with construction lumber, pieces of metal, and rocks, smashing shop windows and police cars. The Israeli police in riot gear shot tear gas, stun grenades, and live rounds while officers on horseback tried to control the protesters. The violence on Saturday returned to the fore of issue of migrants, which has long divided Israel. Its resurgence comes as Israel is torn over Netanyahu's judicial overhaul plan, and supporters state that the migrant issue as a reason why the court should be reined in, saying they should have stood in the way of pushing the migrants out. We want harsh measures against the rioters, including the immediate deportation of those who took part, Netanyahu said in a special ministering meeting called to deal with the aftermath of the violence. He requested that the ministers present him with plans for the removal of all of the illegal infiltrators, and noted in his remarks that the Supreme Court struck down some measures meant to coerce the migrants to leave. Under international law, Israel cannot forcibly send migrants back to a country where their life or liberty may be at risk. Ahead of an official visit to Cyprus, Netanyahu said the team was seeking to deport 1,000 supporters of the Eritrean government who were involved in Saturday's violence. They have no claim to refugee status. They support this regime, Netanyahu said. If they support the regime so much, why would they would do well to return to the country of their origin. About 25,000 African migrants live in Israel, mainly from Sudan and Eritrea, who say they fled conflict or repression. Israel recognizes very few as asylum seekers, seeing them overwhelmingly as economic migrants, and says it has no legal obligation to keep them. Sound familiar, doesn't it? The country has tried a variety of tactics to force them out, including sending some to a remote prison, holding part of their wages until they agree to leave the country, or offering cash payments to those who agree to move to another country somewhere in Africa. Critics accuse the government of trying to coerce the migrants into leaving. Migrant supporters say Israel, a country founded upon the ashes of the Holocaust and built up by Jewish refugees, should welcome those seeking asylum. Opponents claim migrants have brought crime to the low-income southern Tel Aviv neighborhoods where they have settled. On Sunday, Israel's far-right, here we go, sounds like someplace we know, doesn't it? Far-right National Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir visited the site of the unrest, voicing his support for the police and calling for those who broke the law to be placed in detention until they are deported. They don't need to be here. It's not their place, he said. Some people heckled Ben Gvir as he walked with a police escort telling him to go home. Saturday's clashes came as Eritrean government supporters marked the 30th anniversary of the current ruler's rise to power, an event held near the Eritrean embassy in South Tel Aviv. Yep. Eritrea has one of the world's worst human rights records, and migrants in Israel and elsewhere say they fear death if they were to return home. So it sounds kind of similar, doesn't it? Sounds similar to someplace you know, someplace you live. In early August, the Swedish media reported that 1,000 protesters stormed the Eritrean festival in Stockholm, the capital, setting booths and cars on fire and using rocks and sticks as weapons, leaving 52 people injured and 100 people detained. So that's two countries. Let's see. Large numbers of police forces with shields and visors fanned out in the streets. As part of the Burgers city center were cordoned off because of the violence, and over 100 people were involved in the clashes. At least 3 people were detained and 1 person was injured, and that was in Norway. So you had Norway, Sweden, and Israel, all three countries. They had a rally, and they had clashes between supporters and opponents of the Eritrean government. So some of the people escaped with their lives, and some of those other people were just left because of economic reasons. But that's 3 countries that these people went to, and that's 3 countries that are basically all doing the same thing. So it sounds kind of coordinated, if you ask me. That's Norway, Sweden, and Israel trying to send these people, round them up and send them back to Africa. Yeah, and they know that these people, the majority of these people, fled the country, and for a very specific reason, because their lives was in danger. Okay, so here we go. A white man in Missouri accused of shooting a black teenager when the teen went to the wrong house will have to face a trial in court, and is set to be arraigned later this month. In April, 84-year-old Andrew Lester shot 16-year-old Ralph Yarl when the teenager mistakenly went to the wrong house to pick up his twin brothers. As Yarl mistakenly ended up in a house 1 block away from where he was supposed to be, Lester looked my nephew in the eye. Lester looked my nephew in the eye and shot him, and that's what Yarl's aunt stated. And Yarl was in critical condition in the immediate aftermath, but since has made headways in his recovery. A true miracle considering what he survived. So last week, Yarl recounted the incident and told the court that he rang the doorbell for a while at Lester's house on the day of the incident, The homeowner came to the door, brandished a gun, and said, "Don't come here ever again." And once y'all started to back away, Lester allegedly shot him in the head. He then shot him again after he fell to the ground. Lester was initially released on $20,000 bond, but according to the filing, Lester's facing one charge of felony assault in the first degree and another count of felony of armed criminal action with regards to the April 13th incident. And the filing states that if Lester is convicted of the first charge, he would not be eligible for parole until he serves 85% of the sentence. And so he's scheduled to be arraigned on September 20th. Yep. A lot of crazy stuff going on in the world. A lot of crazy stuff. So this is us moving to West Virginia. They got an ultra wealthy family of the West Virginia government. Governor Jim Justice is looking to reopen a shuttered industrial plant that for decades emitted chemicals that have harmed historically black neighborhoods in Birmingham, Alabama. But the family faces a series of new regulatory and financial hurdles, including a push by local regulators to throw the governor's son in jail over thousands of dollars of unpaid penalties connected to the plant's pollution. The century-old facility, which burns coal to make coke, a key ingredient for manufacturing steel, was the subject of a 2022 investigation that showed how the family's company and the plant's past owners repeatedly failed to make necessary repairs. Without timely maintenance, Bluestone Coke released more cancer-causing chemicals into the air breathed by residents of 3 surrounding communities on Birmingham's north side. In 2021, local regulators declined to renew Bluestone's permit because of its repeated violations of air pollution regulations, but the plant kept operating as Bluestone appealed the decision. Months later, the company idled its coke ovens because of major equipment problems. The EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, recently proposed changes in the way toxic air pollution is controlled at coke plants. It will require Bluestone and other companies to install monitors along the fence lines of the coke plants to detect whether high levels of benzene, a cancer-causing air pollutant found in coke oven emissions, are wafting into surrounding communities. If monitors detect high levels of benzene, plant operators would have to identify the source of the pollution leaks and submit plans to bring the facility back into compliance. So they should just shut them down altogether. But the proposal seeks to reduce the disproportionate amount of coke plants pollution released in black communities from Alabama to Indiana. For decades before Bluestone acquired the plant in 2019, nearby residents were exposed to some of the nation's highest levels of contaminants in the air and soil. So if it's in the air and the soil, that means it's probably in the water too. And the air pollution had discolored the size of houses, decimated property values, and sickened residents. In recent years, a local environmental group called the Greater Birmingham Alliance to Stop Pollution has monitored the air outside of Bluestone plant site and detected benzene levels high enough to elevate cancer risk for nearby residents. The proposed regulation complicates the Justice family's plans to reopen the plant, and the company's intended overhaul, estimated by experts to cost more than $150 million, will become even more expensive under the agency's proposal. So get it done. Do what you guys got making all this money. Get it done. So the likelihood of them opening is very low, and that's that's a good thing. Keep that sucker closed. It don't need to be opening up. So here's another type of destruction that goes on in the black community that has been going on for decades. Over 50 years ago, white leaders in Newport News, Virginia, uprooted a black community to build a college. And few families remaining are still being pressured to sell their property. So Katie Luck was sitting in her yard under a magnolia tree one afternoon in April when the school bus passed by. A white elementary school student shouted at her from a window, "You don't belong here." The 81-year-old grandmother and a retired teacher who was black was also distressed that she called James and Barbara Johnson, who lived down the road from her shoe lane in Newport News, Virginia. The Johnsons, perhaps better than anyone, knew just how wrong the elementary schooler was. The stacks of files and photo albums in their dining room table are a shrine to what Shoe Lane era used to be and what it might have become. Around 1960, in the last gasp of the Jim Crow era, the Shoe Lane community consisted of a church and about 20 black families, including teachers, dentists, high school principal, and a NASA engineer. They owned ranch-style houses along Shoe Lane and three other streets, which formed the trapezoid enclosing woods and farmland. The Johnsons were planning to sell some of the farmland to black people who aspired to the American dream of homeownership, but were shut out of the white neighborhoods by racist banking and zoning policies. But geography and racism were against them. The 70-acre Shoe Lane area lay beside one of the city's most affluent white sections where Newport News power brokers played golf at segregated country clubs. Aware that more black families would be moving to the area, the Newport News City Council wielded its most powerful weapon, eminent domain, the government's right to forcibly purchase private property for public use in 1961. It seized the core of Shoe Lane area, including the Johnsons' farmland, for a public 2-year college, a branch of the colleges of William and Mary system. And the council overrode protests by homeowners and civil rights advocates that there were more suitable and less expensive sites elsewhere for the college, which today is Christopher Newport University. The city worsened the blow by paying 20% less for the properties than the value set by an independent appraiser. And the campus location was almost entirely a racial issue. And they believed they wanted to remove the black community from here, and they certainly wanted to halt the arrival of the black middle class into the community. Yep, and the Shoe Lane seizure was egregiously wrong. Historically, the city has to own up to the fact that it was a deliberate attempt to get rid of the black community because there were many places that the school could have been built. And so it's well known all over the country that they've been doing the black neighborhoods all over the country. Yep. And we all felt it was taken because it was a black neighborhood. And of course it was. They did the same thing in Santa Monica when they took that black land from the people in Santa Monica and split that up, and they ran the 10 freeway through that particular black neighborhood. But now what they're trying to do is they call themselves, the city of Santa Monica call themselves trying to do the right thing, and anybody that a family descendants of those families that got uprooted can get financial assistance, or they will allow them to purchase these some new low cost condominiums in that neighborhood that they just recently built. But they should actually give them those condos. They shouldn't be trying to sell it to them. And so just like the Bruce family that got their land back from Manhattan Beach that was taken from them and from eminent domain, and the black family had actually had a resort there in Manhattan Beach, and the land was taken from them, and they but so the Bruce family got the land back. The governor and a bunch of people, was instrumental in helping them get their land back. However, the Bruce family, I believe, made a big mistake. They ended up selling the land back to the city of Manhattan Beach for like a paltry $20 million. That's nothing. $20 million is nothing. They should have kept the land. Told them to give us $20 million, and we'll rent you the land on a yearly basis. They never should have sold that land back to them. $20 million is not enough money, not in my eyesight anyway. But you know how it works. They wave the dollar signs, the dollars up under your nose because you never seen that $20 million before. Of course, but you got to split it between all these people. So, all these family members. So you're not going to end up with 20 million. Either way, it's a sad situation, folks. Sad situation. Know who I am? Yep. Telling you, man, it's a crazy situation. And here we are. We out here trying to do the best we can with what we got. And it's really sad. It's really sad that people, just come in and just come in and they just decide, well, we're just gonna take your land. Take it. We're just gonna take it from you. You don't deserve to have it.
News, y'all.
Know who it is? Know who it is, y'all? KP Video News, y'all.
News, y'all. KP Video News, y'all. KP's Video News.
Anyway, KP Video News, y'all. Don't forget to subscribe.